Alright, so I just want to get something off my chest in this video, and this is going to be a rant video about Tatiana Suarez not getting the title shot before Yan Xiaonan. So get ready because your boy is about to go off in this video, and I'm going to respond to some people as well who I went back and forth with in the comment section. Yes, you, Brian Williams. Yes, you, Smiling Aurora ED4FD. I'm talking to you, so I hope you're watching this video because I'm calling you out and anyone who disagrees with me. But in this video, I want to kind of explain why I think the UFC is giving Yan Xiaonan this title shot for the simple fact that she's Chinese. Why that's a big reason as opposed to where she's ranked and how many more wins she has than Suarez recently in the strawweight division. Because I'm just here to tell you that none of that matters. And yes, the UFC, they are protecting Wei Li from Suarez. They're trying to prolong Zhang's title reign as long as possible. What they're doing is they're trying to either prolong her reign, or even if she does lose to Yan Xiaonan, because that could happen, at least there's two Chinese champions. But there's a method to the madness here. So, just forget the rankings, or, forget the fact that, okay, Yan Xiaonan beat her, before Tatiana Suarez did. But if you guys think that, okay, rankings matter, you guys are wrong. Like, the UFC, they don't really care who beat who first or who's ranked where, because if rankings really mattered, then why did Irene Aldana get chosen to replace Pena for the title shot at Nunes when Pena pulled out, and not Raquel, who had a longer win streak of 6 fights and was ranked literally number 2 in the division? Forget the fact that, okay, Raquel's boring and lost to Nunes already. I'll tell you why Aldana was the first choice to replace Pena. Because in the year 2023, that was a big year for Mexican fighters in title fights. We had 3 Mexican champions, Moreno, Yair, interim, but still, and Alexa Grasso all came through. So the UFC was looking to capitalize on that opportunity and further push the Mexican market by giving another Mexican fighter a shot to become the champion. It just looks good on the pay-per-views at the time that, it took place. That's why Aldana was coming off just 2 wins over lower ranked opponents, you know what I mean? And Raquel had already beaten Irene Aldana, mind you. But they didn't go with Raquel Pennington when honestly they probably should have went with Raquel. I kind of wish they did so Nunes could just get rid of her and Raquel could, or Aldana could win the vacant belt off Myra. But that's besides the point. The Mexican market is why Aldana was chosen. So okay, again, rankings do not mean anything when it comes to title shots. And then even let's talk about the flyweight division. Let's look at these flyweight rankings. So Brandon Royval is the number 1 contender. He beat Brandon Moreno. I know he's 0-2 to Pantoja, and Pantoja just fought him recently. So that makes sense as to why he's not next. But he's the number 1 contender. Albazi's injured. Kai Kara-France hasn't got a win. I think Nicolao's coming off a loss to Royval. I'm not quite sure. But the UFC, their original plan, they can't go with Cape because he's injured too, but the original plan was if Muhammad Makayev, if he can successfully defeat Perez, they were talking about maybe giving him a title shot at Pantoja in May in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Pantoja wanted it. The champ was calling for it. He's ranked number 7. Now that's low. It's not top 5. He's been in the UFC longer than the guy they're going with, Steve Erceg, who fought on the same card, knocked out Matt Chanel. They're giving the number 10 ranked guy, Steve Erceg, the title shot over the number 7 ranked guy who's been in the UFC longer and arguably is more deserving. So the UFC does not give a crap about who deserves what over who. There's fighters who get endless title shots literally coming off a win and then they get a title shot after. Like, some fighters have that privilege. Like, I like Colby Covington, but Colby has that privilege of lose and then win one, get a title shot. Same with Dustin Poirier. He's probably going to get a title shot at Makhachev, when he doesn't deserve a title shot at Makhachev. He's going to get it. So the rankings mean nothing. I guarantee you, if Yan Xiaonan was any other race or ethnicity, if she was like white American or black or Arab or, even Mexican, and the UFC Mexican market, it's irrelevant now because there's only one Mexican champ left and all the other Mexicans are losing lately. So if she was any other skin tone, nationality, I promise you the UFC would not be as adamant as giving her the shot or making her versus Zhang Weili. I can just guarantee it, okay? I bloody promise you, if Yan was not Chinese, the UFC would flip a coin and they could still go with Yan Xiaonan, but there's also a higher chance they could have bumped Suarez above her in the rankings and made her the number one contender instead. And let's not forget, Yan Xiaonan was literally offered to fight. She was literally offered to fight Tatiana Suarez in China when the UFC couldn't get Zhang Weili to take the fight in China because it was just too soon of a turnaround from August. Understandable. Suarez, on short notice, was willing to save that card with 4 weeks' notice. She even said with that amount of time, she wasn't sure if she could actually go 5 rounds or make the weight. Suarez was still willing to step up to the plate, and Yan wasn't. So based off that, Tatiana should be rewarded, but she's not because the UFC doesn't care. Even if they couldn't get Yan Zhang in China, they want this fight in the States or not because they're both Chinese. This is a fight that the UFC has wanted for the last 3 years, since 2021, but Namajunas and Esparza messed it up when Esparza beat Yan Xiaonan, ended her win streak, and when Rose beat Zhang twice. That fight was gone by the win. And they Esparza and Namajunas spoiled the UFC's plans. But now, years later, Yan Xiaonan back in the win column of 2 wins, and Zhang Weili's the champ again. So the UFC, they're licking their chops, they're chopping at the bid, and they're going to look to jump at this opportunity by any means possible. So that is a huge reason as to why Tatiana is not next and Yan is. Because I guarantee you, if on that same card, UFC 288, where Marina fought Jandiroba, if it was instead Marina, Jessica, and not UFC 300, and let's say Marina Rodriguez beat Jessica, like I'm predicting her to do you think if Marina Rodriguez went out there and knocked out Jessica Andrade at UFC 288, coming off 1 win after losing to Lemos, do you think the UFC would award Marina Rodriguez a title shot at Zhang Weili off one win over Andrade versus someone who's undefeated in the UFC and has beaten 3 champions? They would have definitely went with Tatiana Suarez. I can promise you that. But because it's Yan Xiaonan and she's Chinese, that is why. Now, here's another argument I want to pose in this video. So a lot of people are talking about, Suarez's layoff and how that's a big reason as to why she's not deserving. It's like, dude, that was in the past. This is now. She's active. She's competing. She's healthy. Yes, she's pulled out of 1 fight with Amanda Lemos. Who freaking cares? The injury's not that severe. She's going to fight again this year. I can promise you that. But let's not forget the work that she's put in the strawweight division in her UFC career. Look at who she's beaten. Carla Esparza, former champ, Grasso flyweight champion, and Jessica Andrade, former champion. She was literally top 3 back then before the layoff and being unranked. She's top 3 now. And Brian Williams, you want to talk about, Yan Xiaonan has a bigger win streak at flyweight. Tatiana had her tune-up fight. Yan Xiaonan has a bigger win streak at strawweight, bigger than Suarez. And, Yan Xiaonan has a bigger win streak than Suarez at strawweight. And, Suarez, only has 1 win in the strawweight division in the last 5 years, and then had the De La Rosa fight at flyweight, which doesn't count. Okay, if we're going to talk about win streaks, how much value can you put into just 2 wins in a row? Yan Xiaonan's win streak before Carla beat her was way more impressive. I think she was 6-0 in the UFC before then. That was more impressive until Carla beat her. Now she's only won 2 fights in a row, a majority decision against Dern, which could have easily been a draw. And then, okay, she knocked out Andrade. That's just 2 wins in a row. Tatiana has also recently won 2 fights in a row. I don't care if one of them was in another weight class against a bum. It does not matter. Why don't you mention the fact that, why don't we talk about the fact that one of them's undefeated in the UFC and the other's not? Yan Xiaonan is 8-2 in the UFC. I just checked. Tatiana Suarez is 7-0 in the UFC. Let me go on her Sherdog right now. Let me just go on her Sherdog. Let me get in there right now. So Tatiana Suarez is 7-0 in the UFC, okay? Amanda Cooper, her first win, her second win, Viviane Pereira, Alexa Grasso, third win, fourth win, Carla, fifth win, Nina, sixth win, De La Rosa, seventh win, Jessica Andrade. Tatiana is an undefeated fighter, and she's undefeated in the UFC. And not only that, Tatiana Suarez is literally also, she's like what? She's 9-0 in the strawweight division. Or no, 10-0 in the strawweight division, because UFC.com has Tatiana listed as 11-0. She's 11-0, one of those wins being in the flyweight division. I could be wrong. Maybe she's got more fights flyweight. But if I'm not mistaken, she's 10-0 at strawweight. Yan Xiaonan is like, what's her record? Yan Xiaonan is 17-3 in the strawweight division. 17-3 at strawweight. Tatiana Suarez is 11-0. She's never lost in the strawweight division. So if you want to talk about claim and leverage to getting a potential title shot, well, there you go. Sorry, I had a bit of a tongue tie. Tatiana Suarez is 11-0 in her fighting career, 10-0 in the strawweight division, okay? So she's on an 10-fight win streak at strawweight and a 7-fight win streak in the UFC, and she's beaten more champs than Yan Xiaonan has. She finished the person who embarrassed Yan Xiaonan. Yan Xiaonan, Carla had Yan, she left Yan in a bloody mess, okay? She battered Yan Xiaonan, where Suarez dominated Carla, and Carla didn't even land a single significant or total strike in that fight. Okay, that fight was literally one-way traffic. Okay? That was one-way traffic. Let's not forget that fight happened. It's in the history books. Okay? So Carla Esparza being on Tatiana's resume, that means something. So I don't want to hear, oh, it was 5 years ago. I don't care if it was 2018. That win is still relevant today, because what did Carla do? She went on to win 6 fights in a row and become a 2-time champ and beat the person who y'all are hyping up and beat the person who's fighting Tatiana Suarez. Or fighting Zhang Weili, okay? So that matters, okay? Tatiana being 10-0 at strawweight, 11-0 in her career, 7-0 or 6-0 at strawweight in the UFC, and on a 6-fight win streak in strawweight in the UFC, better, worth more than those 2 wins in a row that Yan Xiaonan has, okay? I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm kind of getting a little bit lost and having a bit of a brain freeze, so I might have forgot my point midway, and I'm not recording through voice memo, so I can't stop and do another segment because I'm screen recording on the laptop, so forgive me, guys, if I'm sounding a bit dumb. But again, 6-0 at strawweight in the UFC, that's better than those 2 wins in a row for Yan Xiaonan. So there you go, Brian Williams. There you go. You want to talk about Yan Xiaonan having more recent wins at strawweight than Tatiana. 6-0. 6-0 versus 2-2, which is better? Because again, Yan is 2-2 in her last 4 fights. She was on a 2-fight losing streak not too long ago, and then got 2 wins in a row. Tatiana Suarez has never lost in the strawweight division, ever. She's never lost, period, okay? So there's that, Brian Williams. And another thing I want to talk about too, which kind of scares me, is if, I promise you, if Yan Xiaonan wins this fight against Zhang Weili, which it's a scary prospect, I think that if Yan Xiaonan ends up winning, I think that they're going to do a rematch, okay? Because the UFC, they're going to take advantage of that opportunity even further and be like, Damn. Two Chinese fighters. Zhang Weili was champ for a long time. She's a big star. Yan Xiaonan got an upset against her, and then Zhang Weili might have her excuses for losing. And then the UFC, they're going to be chopping at the bid to not just want to make that fight once, but make it twice, to make double the money. Zhang Weili, Yan Xiaonan 2 will be an even bigger fight with, Zhang coming off a loss, looking to redeem herself. I mean, Zhang Weili got an immediate rematch against Rose Namajunas when she didn't deserve it. Imagine now. So that kind of scares me as a Suarez fan. Like, if Yan gets the upset, which is a real scary possibility, Suarez may have to kiss that title shot goodbye. She may have to wait a year because the UFC, they're going to bless Zhang a rematch with Yan Xiaonan so the UFC can further milk the Chinese market. I promise you that is the case. China versus China, two Chinese fighters. If they can manage to build another Chinese superstar in Yan Xiaonan, and if her claim to fame is beating Zhang Weili, they're going to give her a second opportunity to beat her again, or an opportunity for Zhang to get her lick back. They're not going to give Tatiana Suarez her shot at the title. They're going to reschedule Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos probably, or give her Marina Rodriguez if Marina beats Jessica Andrade, or reschedule the Verna Jandiroba fight. I can just tell some BS. The UFC, they're going to pull some kind of bullshit if Yan Xiaonan wins. So hopefully, God willing, Zhang Weili gets this done. I think she will win, because if she does win, the UFC, they have nowhere to go. They can protect Zhang Weili no further. Like, if Grasso was fighting sooner than Mexican Independence Day in, like, September, then the UFC could then or they could push Zhang to move up and fight Grasso in the fall. If Grasso Shevchenko 3 was happening, like, at UFC 300 or in May, then Zhang could just, in the fall, fight the winner of that. But because Grasso Shevchenko 3 is going to be in the fall most likely, because they're doing tough, the UFC will have no other option but to give Zhang Weili Tatiana Suarez, her boogie woman, her kryptonite. And the UFC, they know for a fact that Zhang Weili could lose. Sorry, I got tongue-tied there. Now, I may be contradicting myself and saying rankings don't matter, which they really don't. But here's the thing. If Zhang wins, Suarez don't got to take another fight. Not just because she's number 2, and not just because she's undefeated in the UFC, 6-0 at strawweight, 7-0 in the UFC. But who else are they going to give Zhang Weili if she's not moving up? Who else are they going to give her? A rematch with Amanda Lemos when that was one-way traffic? If Jessica beats Marina, they're not going to give Jessica the rematch. If Marina wins, that would be such bullshit if they gave it to Marina, but I feel like Marina Zhang wouldn't be big enough of a fight for the UFC to push or promote, so wouldn't be Reba, she's coming off a loss. Wouldn't be any of these people listed on the rankings. It would have to be Suarez because she's undefeated. She's undefeated in the UFC and in strawweight and in her overall career, and she's a stylistic threat. And that's the only fight the UFC can really promote, even if they do not want to make the matchup. They have to make that matchup next. So I think the UFC, what they're probably hoping for is Yan actually does win so they can make the rematch and hold off Tatiana Suarez further. I'm sorry, I'm like going off in this video. I'm ranting. I'm like going buck wild in this video, but I'm just speaking my mind. I do not care. I'm saying how I feel. I'm probably going to look back at this recording and be like, damn, I was going all over the place. I probably missaid some things, but I do not care. I do not care. Yan Xiaonan is getting this shot because she's Chinese. No one can tell me otherwise. This fight's happening because it's China versus China. That is why. That is why Suarez is not next, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The UFC, they can run, they can hide, they can stall. Tatiana's coming for that title, and she's going to be champ by the end of the year. I'm done.